The Neo Reality Entertainment brand expands with a relaunch of the Neo Reality Collective Pop Culture News Talk. Your host, Eric Brown, gives his insights and thoughts in the ever-expanding news world of comic books, professional wrestling, gaming, TV, and movies. Be sure to donate to the brand and keep up to date with additional content on YouTube channels such as Neo Reality Entertainment, NRE The Wrestleverse, and NRE Pop Culture Omniverse.
Today's edition of Neo Reality Collective is brought to you by Anchor.fm, a free distribution service podcasting hosting platform that allows you to record your podcast on your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and so much more. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor.fm app or go to Anchor.fm to get started today. Thank you and enjoy the episode. Welcome everyone, we're back with the next edition of Neo Reality Collective, episode 17. Wait, let me just double check. Oh man, I've been so busy with consolidating everything. Yeah, we're officially on the 17th episode, with several bonus episodes scheduled to release that were part of an initiative plan to move a little bit of my stuff around, expand my content. And now I'm making more to make Neo Reality Collective more an actual collective of stuff than just pop culture news talk. Eventually, we're going to have the wrestling be have several imprints within the podcast that kind of take a life on its own. We got Tales of the Wrestling Tapes. We got the Pax Krakoa plan. We got the Infinite Frontier Age. Like all these events that I have planned in mind for my projects, for this big, massive condensing of podcasts into one entity. So yeah, I'm moving for Anchor.fm to be the main central hub, and the projects all going there, but the New Reality Collective stuff will still feature the pop culture news talk aspect, while all the bonus content will be reviews, and there will be a possibility that there will be news that are so big that it has to only be talked about in one video or podcast audio that I just can't just clump together with just one aspect. So yeah, we're gonna go into this and let's get right into everything. So Vince McMahon believes Toni Storm can be a big WWE star. So, according to Cultaholics report on this, according to Wrestling News Co., as part of WWE's refresh of the SmackDown Women's Division, NXT UK Women's Champ Toni Storm is set to debut in the Blue Band and is believed to become a big part of the division. Set to portray a babyface role because, ignore the continuity because, in NXT she was a heel at the time when she left, and now she's just certainly a face, and we're supposed to just accept that. Yeah, we live in this world of Vince McMahon's insanity. So she was a heel in NXT. Now she's called up and she's suddenly a face, and she beat Zelina Vega, and I do not care. But here's the thing: I ultimately don't think I care, because how many times have we heard this? Vince believes this NXT insert name here is going to be a big star. The problem is, Vince doesn't really back it. He says, "Oh, you're gonna be a big star." 2 weeks later, he just gives up and moves on with his life. After not getting why they work so well in one brand, so why can't they work here? So, yeah. And after what happened with Karrion Kross, you're just at this point where you're like, well, why should I care? You clearly don't like NXT talent, so why should I care what you do with them? Because they're clearly not going to matter, because unless it's certainly ones that fit your prototype model or were completely wrecked in NXT but thrive on the main roster, i.e. Elias, then you got something. But even then, Vince will probably find a way to screw this up. As with all due respect to Bianca Belair, I'm expecting them to somehow screw up. Like, Sasha Banks is guaranteed to probably go Hollywood down the road, especially with her role in The Mandalorian, and being told, hey, you're going to DDT Boba Fett, you know, the legendary bounty hunter and the badass character we're bringing back after, like, 30 years of no appearances in the future movies and TV projects other than, like, prequel stuff. Unless you count the books, but Disney doesn't canonize them anymore because Disney doesn't care about the Legends continuity, despite the fact that Visions exists. Yeah. But, yeah, Toni Storm, I wish her luck, I really do, but I'm just, after what happened with Karrion Kross, my optimism is dead for NXT Talent Call-Up. Like, Rhea Ripley. So, not only is she... Now, Rhea Ripley, right out of nowhere, when they were building her up to be a heel for some reason, is now labeled a babyface. Does anyone not get this? That WWE just like, nope, she's the face again. Okay, what did she do that actually said she's the face? She was acting like a heel this whole time since her feud with Charlotte started. Why should I go ahead and think that this is going to be different? She just lost the title again. She lost the rematch again for some reason, even though there should be no rematch clauses according to what you said, Vince. But yeah, so Rhea Ripley's a face again. I don't care. And Denny's open to Rob Gronsky coming back, which failed miserably. He was the superstar for 83 days, and then he went back. Oh, man. So, yeah, he signed a one-year deal, and now he probably will stop again. And WWE is open to bring him back. But... yeah, this is the shortest career of a wrestler I've seen, besides those who start off in development, because WWE pushed celebrities. I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine that they're not gonna that they're gonna push him after he ditched them after the Showcase of Immortals. So, Bodyslam.net reported, and this is just conjecture from me, because take this for what you will. Bodyslam Cassidy Haynes cites a source as claiming that Bryan Danielson is locked in and has 100% already signed with AEW. So, what goes on to say about the details in this contract that reportedly by Bodyslam.net is that Danielson's date contains let's dates for comparable money, the ability to work in Japan, and creative input on his character. So basically everything except for the less dates, because, you know, his neck's already been in question, and apparently New Japan was a big factor in his decision, because WWE's not going to get a possibility. Yeah, so Daniel Bryan's contract ended up ending. So Bryan Danielson is apparently signed. He's locked for AEW. Now, when I heard this, along with the CM Punk stuff that's going on with him, let's be real. If Punk and Bryan both signed with AEW, in the perfect world, they would both debut at All Out. But I get the feeling, because AEW has big plans, they have something else in mind. So I think Punk is set for All Out, since that is in Chicago and that is his hometown. And I think Bryan is set for AEW's Grand Slam event in New York, which would make sense. So, yeah, that's apparently the rumored plans. Punk for All Out, Bryan for Grand Slam. Two big monumental events that will ultimately, that if it's all true, will ultimately culminate in you know, Tony Khan's balance of power shift. Because while we all agree WWE's never going to die, we're kind of accepting of that, and no one will actually want a company to go out of business, because a lot of people would be unemployed. Just at best, like, let's be real, the only aspect I can imagine WWE ever going out of business is one of three things. The US government stepped in order to shut down for various reasons and investigations. Second would be if they were bought out by a bigger company and then shut down later on. which would be Disney, I think. And the third one would be the end of the world. Yeah. So AEW is clearly going to be like 1.5, or like, it's probably going to be at best 2.9 on the top of that list, where they're so close to getting number one. We just need to get to number one, man. But they would have to do the things that they pulled in order to, you know, go into public IPO and, you know, screw everything up after that. But yeah, Bryan was last seen in his title versus career match, where he lost to Roman Reigns and then got concertoed by Roman. So Roman is now the new Randy Orton. I'm surprised no one's made this joke yet from what I've seen on Twitter. Let's see. Roman has now sent Bryan to AEW. Punk's hatred for WWE clearly favoring John Cena and potentially Roman Reigns, because they knew that Roman would be the guy, since he was a factor into Punk's departure. Not from a like, I don't like him kind of thing, more like a, he's not who I wanted called up. I wanted Chris Hero for the Shield. So Roman is now the new AEW guy. Everyone he pisses off or defeats will go to AEW. Ain't that right? Right, Randy Orton. You beat down Christian. You beat down Matt Hardy, and they're all gone to AEW. And then you harassed Big Show and Mark Henry, and they're all AEW. I'm like, Roman still has to go like a couple more pointers to tie with Orton. Maybe Roman will make Orton go to AEW. It did almost look like a possibility once upon a time. Though Orton outside of WWE would be a very weird thing. Like, all the other guys I can imagine leaving because their time was outside of WWE before they joined. But Orton is that guy who's meant for the WWE world. I can't imagine him working the independent world unless, you know, he gets to be the independent killer and then just starts killing all the independent legends of the business. So, yeah. So another thing is that WWE also came out, and NXT is still internally viewed as developmental. According to some reports, the two instances that are just the latest in long line of NXT talent being mistreated, at least that's the opinion of hardcore NXT fans. A new report indicates why. NXT is still officially looked at as internally as the WWE Developmental territory rather than a third brand. So when I heard this, I wrote a tweet about it. I wrote a very mad tweet. In terms of, oh my god, why am I even here now? Because it's that idea when you just go ahead and make everyone basically waste their time watching something that ultimately will not matter for them. So this is what I said. So why have a TV deal if it's the inferior developmental, in the quotations? Why have the developmental go up against another company's premier show? WWE spent 2 years pushing them as a third brand because of AEW, and it took 1 week to tear it all down because they couldn't kill it, in my opinion. That's what I think. I definitely think Vince is now just dismissively destroying NXT because, you know, because NXT is a symbol of fans, but NXT couldn't kill AEW, which means Vince probably looks at most of those talents there and say, you're just a bunch of losers. So, and you gotta remember, Samoa Joe is part of that troupe. So, how is he considered a developmental this whole time according to Vince? Because he doesn't know the WWE style, even though he's kicked ass and take names. And also, remember how people were trying to push this idea that, oh, Karrion Kross losing doesn't really hurt him, even though it clearly did. More things happened during a reported champion promo ship during the taping of August 3rd, which led to Joe trying to get at the NXT champion. Joe would end up attacking several security guards, but Kross would bail the ring before the Samoa submission machine could reach him. Yeah, well, according to the tapings, they had to reshoot the segment because people were chanting Hardy. Does that not give you what you needed to hear? And as a result, NXT decided to reshoot the segment at the end of tapings, and then they reportedly lied to fans inside the Capitol Wrestling Center to ensure they remained in the building. Saying, a source told someone from bodyslam.net, they even lied to us and said something special was going to happen so we wouldn't leave. A crew member told me the show wasn't over. When we tried to leave, he told us there was a surprise. See? There's no point caring. The fans clearly said they know what happened. Why should we take him seriously now? This guy you've built up as this monster machine, as like the much better version of Goldberg. Why should I care for this character? Why should I care what Karrion Kross does if he can't be a guy who's basically been reduced to putting people over and not really being taken seriously on main event for months, and just gotten beaten down over and over and over, to the point that you're basically saying that Jinder Mahal is better than Karrion Kross. And all due respect to Jinder Mahal, he was the WWE champion, but like I think Karrion Kross would eviscerate Jinder Mahal if this was in his world. But Triple H and Vince, this I'm curious to know what Triple H is thinking about all this. Is he pissed? I would be probably. I would go up to my father-in-law if this was the case, and all the hard work me and like over a dozen people worked on to make this character great, and now it's all ruined because Vince has an agenda. And even if they went with the route that they were punishing him, couldn't there have been another way? Or, have him attack William Regal too? Oh wait, you did attack William Regal, but why didn't you just strip him of the title, or do anything with bad employees, like fire them? Or is that asking too much? Because then they'll be contacted by another company. I mean, you couldn't just have him strip him of the title because of his behavior and let the journalists and news sources come out and say it, or suspend him for or do something that doesn't involve destroying his mystique and thus no longer being treated seriously by fans. Like, you had fans who love NXT just chant Hardy, Hardy, Hardy. So yeah, what's the point? So AEW CEO Tony Khan went out and made a reference to WWE during a fan address after the show. Oh man. He said this, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a performance center in AEW. This is our performance center. We have the best young wrestlers in the world, and this is where we showcase them. So here's the thing. He says that line. There is nothing wrong with this. Yes, he referenced WWE, but people, mostly WWE tribalists, lost it when they heard he talked about WWE. Kill him, essentially. And I was like, did you read the transcripts? Did you watch the video? Because he doesn't really bash the Performance Center. He just says AEW doesn't have one like the Performance Center. They just have Dark and Dark Elevation. That's their Performance Center. That's their developmental area. The Performance Center doesn't exist in AEW. I've been advocating for a Performance Center just to, help the younger talent, but probably a little bit later down the road they might do it. So Dark and Dark Elevation is their best option for now, because that gives them content to sell eventually. But yeah, it's not a bashing though. It's not a shot at WWE. He just says, we don't have a performance center. I'm like, when you think about it, there's always these wrestling schools. He could have said that, and I understand if some people were mad about that reasoning, but it is but it doesn't really make me mad or make certain people who understood the context of what he was trying to say, that they don't have this super advanced performance center like WWE does, and they don't have that kind of stuff given yet. They'll probably have one down the road, but right now Dark and Dark Elevation is their land, and they shall reign supreme for content riching. So, The Rock is reportedly set to make a return at this year's Survivor Series, and rumor has it that it's going to happen at the Barclays Center Survivor Series, and according to Andrew Zarian of Mat Men Podcast, if I butchered his last name wrong, sorry, 3 separate sources within WWE have corroborated that the current plan within the company is for The Rock to return to Survivor Series 2021 this November. This would also be the 25th anniversary of The Rock's debut in Hollywood in WWE, and there's no indication if he's going to wrestle. I'm pretty sure he's not going to wrestle because, we got to save him for the Tribal Chief. Like, that's the only way that can make sense. Like, let's be real. I see that happening. They want to do Rock versus Roman. This would be the perfect time to do it. Have The Rock come out, celebrate his fans, and Roman comes out and just tells him to get out of his ring. This is no longer his world. He's the Tribal Chief, and you are just some Hollywood wannabe glamoring guy who threw this all away. And then, or they could have Roman or they do what they did with Cena and Roman. Roman defeats somebody, The Rock comes out and cuts a promo on Roman, and Roman's just like, we're really doing this. And boom, you got your main event at WrestleMania. Like, reportedly, plans are in place for Roman to headline WrestleMania next year as the Universal Champion. Whether or not he'll be the next one, or whether or not he loses it in between and then gets it back, or he'll be walking in as the current champ, I'm pretty sure it's likely the latter. But it's going to be an exciting time, hopefully. Also, AEW has announced that Thunder Rosa is all elite, finally. So, yeah, we don't know when her contract with NWA. I get the feeling they did a dual contract because it was always being said that her contract was supposed to end next year in 2022, but instead it just came out of nowhere. But it comes on her 35th birthday, and that's pretty damn awesome. What a gift to give her. You finally get to sign and be the eventual one who will dethrone Dr. Baker, DMD, in a match for the ages, damn it. That's gonna be fun. Meanwhile, Hiromu Takahashi has been cleared for in-ring return. He ran on Twitter saying, good news, the doctor gave him permission to return. Let's go crazy again. So, yeah. Can't wait for what he brings to the table. So, there's the War of the Bounty Hunter event going on. I haven't covered it because part of me's just... But apparently Marvel is promising a new status quo for Star Wars comics with Boba Fett in them. Saying that Marvel Comics promises with a shocker of an ending that will set up a revolutionary new status quo for Star Wars comics. This is the problem. What do they mean by that? Because in terms of storytelling and structure, aren't the comics still, quote, B canon to the Disney canon mainline? Unless they're gonna break off and go to a different timeline, in which case you start wondering why can't they do that with Legends still, or is that just asking too much? Like they have a new High Republic comic coming out, a mini-series for 5 issues. What's the big shock of the big moment that's gonna shock people? Is this going to change the status quo of Star Wars? Is this going to affect everything? Is this a new timeline? Do I care? I want to, but I'm pretty sure like if they like I was already on the, I didn't care if they did an event comic, even though it seems a little overblown to do that for Star Wars on this front, but since now Marvel's saying there's gonna be a new status quo for Star Wars comics, it's like, okay, what's gonna happen? Is this gonna diverge a timeline? Are we gonna go a different route? Are we gonna do something new? What? And if it's Boba Fett mostly, well, that doesn't matter because we know where that goes. He gets in the Sarlacc pit, he escapes, and then he lives in the desert for some time, and then returns and takes over Jabba's palace and rules the world with rules the criminal underworld with an iron fist, and will probably die in his chair like Godfather did. Yeah, that sounds about right. So, yeah. We'll see, but if they don't promise they're a really big thing that makes it say that, to make that promise, I'm just stopping. I'll just stick to High Republic stuff and probably Darth Vader, and that's pretty much it. Respawn is developing a brand new single-player adventure in a unique universe. Yeah, the job posting reads that this new single-player title is a designer's dream playground with a freedom to innovate made possible by the unique universe it inhabits. I would love to know what that universe is. Can I? So, yeah, the combat designer will also work on creating mechanics that create thoughtful combat encounters that reward moment-to-moment strategic decision-making, creative improvisation, and player behaviors that are a joy to execute. So, what could that be? No idea. A new IP, a licensed game set in its own little world. Who knows? We'll see. I'm curious, honestly. Borderlands 3 senior developers leave Gearbox to start a new project, and now there should panic. The 7 senior developers left to work on a new project. Almost all of them were previously working on an unannounced Gearbox project that was currently in pre-production, and Pitchford says will cause minimal disruption on current plans, and that new team members are being brought over to this project. Yeah, I think we should panic. When Randy Pitchford tries to reassure people, it's always a sign that, yeah, it's going to end badly, isn't it? So, get ready for that. Football Manager begins a multi-year project to add women's football. Sony Sports Interactive has announced that it has begun a multi-year project to add women's football to the Human Simulation series. It will be part of the main game and not a standalone. While details are understandably slim at this early stage, we do know, according to IGN saying this, that women's football will be part of the existing Football Manager setup where players are able to seamlessly move between jobs in female and male football. No such date has been given for when female football will become part of the series, but it will be added as soon as possible to them. In a press release, they said they are committed to ensuring that women's football is represented as authentically as possible and with the level of realism and attention to detail that the series is renowned for, and will not announce a launch date until those standards have been met. Studio director Miles Jacobson said, "We know that adding women's football to FM is going to cost in the millions, and then the short-term returns delivered will be minimal." Wait, what? Okay, I don't know how this works, but that's not the point. There's no hiding that there's currently a glass ceiling for women's football, and we want to do what we can to help smash through it. We believe it's equality for all, and equality for all, and we want to be part of the solution. We want to be part of the process that puts women's football on an equal footing with the men's game. We know that we're not alone in this. The historic TV deal that Sky and BBC recently agreed with WSL in England is proof of that. But we intend to do everything we can to get the women's football to where it deserves to be. I don't play Football Manager, so... okay. Okay, everyone, we're going to take a brief break on this event. We'll be back after these messages. Take care, everyone. We'll be back. Welcome back, everyone. Let's cap this off with the final set of news this week. Warner Brothers will make 10 movies exclusively for HBO Max next year. Warner Brothers is set to produce 10 movies exclusively for HBO Max next year, CEO Jason Kilar said during an earnings call. The issue of Warner Media's movies releasing simultaneously on HBO Max and in theaters have been contentious, but it appears the filmmaker won't abandon either format in any significant way, just yet at least. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Kilar stated that Warner Brothers will produce around 10 movies that will be available exclusively on HBO Max on day one. The comment was made between remarks about the state of theatrical releases, including performances of Godzilla vs. Kong. However, he did not state what movies are coming exclusively to HBO Max, pre-existing or otherwise. One film recently confirmed to be an HBO Max exclusive, however, is the Batgirl movie, which has recently casted Leslie Grace as its lead. Kilar noted the difference in audience appeal between big tentpole features and small affairs, saying that the world is not going back to the way the world was in 2015, 16, or 17, where windows were quite lengthy between theatrical and home exhibition. Movie fans came back to shorter windows between theatrical releases of certain Warner Bros. Films and their home video releases. Obviously, 2022 will be a new year for film. Everyone is going to be experimenting with windows. They are going to get shorter, not longer, in terms of being able to see movies sooner. We have learned so much this year, the Executive Vice President of Warner Media's Direct-to-Consumer, Andy Forssell, said, that we have learned so much this year about how to use film and episode together to really engage people and drive higher retention. But now, Warner Bros. Have already signed a multi-year deal with Cineworld's Regal Cinemas, which gives Regal exclusive rights to show WB films the same day as their HBO Max premiere through the rest of 2021. Starting 2022, Regal get to show Warner Bros. Films in the US for 45 days before they hit streaming platforms. It's unclear if any parameters of the deal have been altered following Warner Media's latest statements. Okay, so yeah, I'm curious to know and how long it takes for them to release movies in the US. So, like, for example, I'm curious about that because Zack Snyder's Justice League came out back in, let's see, Zack Snyder's Justice League. You'll probably get a bonus episode about that down the road. March 18th of this year, and around the world, everyone's getting the cut early on Blu-ray and DVD. America is going to get it in September, so naturally it's to, get as much money as possible out of us. I understand that. But, yeah. So I'm wondering how they're going to do this now with the DVDs and Blu-ray. I hope they address that. Because not everyone subscribes to HBO Max, and there's also those internet areas where there's low internet connectivity. So, yeah, they're going to have to figure that out. Meanwhile, EA, during their big EA Play Live event that did not feature Mass Effect or Star Wars stuff, has announced that Dead Space remake has been confirmed for PS5 and Xbox Series and PC, and will not feature microtransactions, being built up from the ground up with the Frostbite engine, with the developers looking to take advantage of the advanced SSDs, 3D audio, and more new tech of the latest generation to bring Isaac's journey from aboard the USG, I can't pronounce that last name, to life once more. Being developed by EA Motive, and I'm just that guy thinking, I want to have faith, but it's EA, and while they have said there's no microtransactions, and they proved that with Fallen Order, they started doing it because with Dead Space, when Dead Space 3 happened, and we all know how that turned out, and yeah, kind of worried that they might change their mind. Like, after the debacle, when they announced that there would be no microtransactions or loot boxes in Fallen Order, we rejoiced. And then we got trepidation in our feet because then they went and did the whole surprise mechanic excuse to justify their horribleness at the hearing. And so what's stopping them from just doing that and saying, it's a surprise mechanics? We're evil. Meanwhile, Battlefield Portal is a new Battlefield 2042 mode that will mash together every battlefield into one. So the next Battlefield has officially been revealed, called Battlefield Portal, a new mode developed by Ripple FX Studios, formerly Dice LA. Yeah. Lets players create complex custom game modes using assets from 2042, 1942, Bad Company 2, and Battlefield 3. So it's basically a gigantic creation suite, so you can send an army of drones to fight a tank, create knives versus defibrillator battles. So I'm pretty sure if Battlefield Friends ever wants to come back, please do. They could take advantage of that. So what that is including is the Battlefield the build for 1942. I'm not pronouncing these names. It's just a mixture of maps and modes and whatnot. I don't know if they're going to feature. I'm still hoping for AI technology, but still. So get ready for that. So Blizzard reportedly took Warcraft 3 Reforged pre-orders while knowing it wouldn't be ready for release. So Activision hamstrung it by low budget, was apparently seen as a low priority, and because of its unlikeliness to be basically a $1 billion product, aka it does not produce all the goddamn money in the goddamn fucking world. Nope. This is... So, they admitted they knew. They should have just shut this down. They knew them. So why even do this? Why screw everyone over? You should have just had some dignity and cancel the project when Activision said, we don't care. But they didn't. Because guess what came out next? Activision Blizzard is sued by the state of California, Fair Employment and Housing specifically, following a 2-year investigation. The state has filed a lawsuit against Activision Blizzard for fostering a, quote, frat boy culture in which female employees are allegedly subjected to unequal pay and sexual harassment. I will not be going into detail of this, other than that we're in the Ubisoft round, aren't we? We're going the Ubisoft round. And after what happened with them, it's hard to look at them. Like, one thing that I mentioned is alcohol. We need tons and tons of fucking alcohol. Because we're fucking working for Activision. So at least I understand the drunkenness desire. But everything else is sick. So I'm not going to go into that. Steam Deck SSD drive is upgradable, but it won't be easy. Last week, after they unveiled it, during IGN's exclusive hands-on, Valve hardware engineer, I'm not pronouncing his name, confirmed that the SSD is now shouldered to the motherboard, which means it is technically user upgradable. So that said, doesn't mean that upgrading will be easy. The repairability is something we did actually focus on to try to make as repairable as possible, but it's really meant for people who know what they're doing and have experience doing it. My God, we're gonna have a market. Because that's where it's gonna go. They're gonna have a market for people who will switch everything, who know about the Steam Deck. So get ready for that. So anyways, remember Injustice Gods Among Us? Well, they have announced the movie cast and the release window. So it's been announced that The Hollywood Reporter has revealed the cast of the movie, featuring an expansive cast featuring a ton and tons of names. Such as Justin Hartley, Anson Mount, Laurie Bailey, Zach Coulson, Brian T. Dalen, and Brandon Michael Hall, Edwin Hodge, Oliver Hudson, Gillian Jacobs, Yuri I can't pronounce that name, but I'm pretty sure I know who he is, Derek Phillips, Kevin Pollak, let's see, Noni Rose, I'm not even going to try the first name, Reed Scott, Farron Tahir, Fred Tarhiski, Janet Verney, and Andrew Wangondo. No, that was my attempt. If I failed miserably, okay, yeah, I understand. So apparently it's set for Let's see what's the release window. Yeah, Seth Williams released at Home Entertainment this fall, so that's their plan. And apparently, it's also going to feature the script written by the Batman Hush anime movie writer, and will be directed by Justice League Dark Apocalypse War director Matt Peters, which means we will do the dark violence. So I'm gonna suspect this is rated R, considering how much violence is in this. Like, there's literally a scene in the later Injustice part where they literally have in the game, which was rated T, I must stress, where they have Superman lobotomize Billy Batson in his Shazam form. He killed a teenager through lobotomizing his brain and liquefying it. That was rated T for teens, I must stress. I don't know if that's going to be in the movie when that context is added, but it's kind of dark they went there. I'm kind of amazed by that. Oh god. So Fast and Furious update. Dwayne Johnson confirms he won't be in the next two movies, Fast and Furious 10 or 11. Oh dear. So apparently Diesel has opened up some old wounds by little, and The Rock just laughed hard about it, and I think everyone had a laugh, and I'll leave it at that. And that I wish them well. I wish them well on Fast 9, and I wish them the best of luck with Fast 10 and 11, and the rest of the Furious movies. These they do that will be without me. So yeah, something happened. So despite ending their little tense feud back in 2019, it seems something just stormed up, and now everything's screwed up again. So good luck with that, everyone. We lost The Rock. Meanwhile, Suicide Squad, James Gunn was given full control, says Jay Courtney. And a Variety, Jay Courtney, who played Captain Boomerang in 2016 Suicide Squad and will reprise the role, says Gunn was given full creative control of the movie. The actor said Gunn was essentially given the keys to the team, saying he really pushed the boundaries. He was basically given the keys and told, do whatever the f*** you like, and he did. I'm pretty sure, and I know why they did that. They're going to reboot the whole thing and they won't care. They could kill off everybody in that movie. Flash is going to reboot everything into a rebirth era. Oh man, that's the unfortunate reality. Like, we know this will not ultimately matter in the way it's supposed to be, because if they all die, oh don't worry, we'll reboot everything, and then they'll be back and it'll be like it never happened, because it didn't happen. Since they still are playing with the Flash movie to reboot everything, or at least try to fix the mess they pulled. Though really you could just restore the Snyderverse and just let it be its own HBO Max limited event and treat it like that. Speaking of, director Kate Herron of Loki has revealed that some of the show's early drafts featured AJ Mobius' past life. Saying that there were a few drafts in the script where you did see a family or you did see a life, but we all kind of decided we don't know what it is yet. I think that's exciting, right? But it gives more road to travel with him. I think it's more painful when he's going to be deleted, him saying, what if I had a family? Because maybe he did, maybe he did. So they want to like keep it a mystery, and how he mentions how I probably did have that jet ski. I probably did surf across the ocean. And I'm glad we're gonna see Mobius again in season 2. Like, Owen Wilson was just awesome, and it's just hilarious. So the Summer Olympics have started after a huge delay, and they use Nier, Final Fantasy, and Kingdom Hearts music in the opening ceremony. Oh man, this is so kind of awesome. This is kind of freaking awesome. Like, they use Dragon Quest, Monster Hunter, Sonic the Hedgehog, Nier, Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, and a ton of other video games during the Olympics opening ceremony, where everyone in the world can highly hear them. Feels so nice, someone mentioned. Oh man, it's kind of freaking awesome. Pro Evolution Soccer, Gradius, Phantasy Star Universe, Chrono Trigger, Ace Combat, Tales of series, Saga series, Soul Calibur. That's kind of awesome. I gotta admit, that's kind of awesome. I don't watch the Olympics, but that is kind of awesome. Also, amid the lawsuit controversy, Blizzard has pulled a new map. So following that lawsuit, Blizzard's response that they are removing a map before it was set to release on August 17th. So that's their response to this. They're accused of this, and now they're saying that we'll just not release this map unless development halted, in which case okay, but like that's kind of a D move there, which you're toxic boy culture according to them. So yeah. So the next Dragon Ball Super movie is coming out next year, and the teasing of new animation style that seems a mixture of CGI and 2D reveals the title and teases it. So apparently Dragon Ball Super is going to be called Dragon Ball Super Hero. The producer of the series said during the Dragon Ball Super special that during the panel that the decision to add supers in the title was to emphasize this movie is about the superhero vibes. So Broly. So it will serve as a continuation of the series Dragon Ball Super, though I'm wondering when we'll see Broly again, especially after the controversy that came out after the voice actor was kicked out. Bad. That sucked, even though I'm not going to give my vibe on what happened on that, but okay. So, yeah, I'm hoping we see Broly again. He's awesome. He was much better written than the Broly that was just hardcore metal. So HBO Max is producing a limited series of Val-Zod. Now you're probably wondering who exactly is Val-Zod. So Val-Zod is a character to take up the mantle of Superman in the New 52 era. So that's clearly a sign that's gonna make people be incentivized. After his parents were executed by the Kryptonian court, Val was sent to Earth 2, an alternate universe version of Prime Earth. So apparently this is not the same Superman reboot they're working on with J.J. Abrams, because of course. So they're going to do their own alternate Earth featuring, which I'm okay with, instead of just be, hey, let's replace Clark Kent and Kal-El with this other character, with this guy who doesn't even look like the guy. Hey, and we could just go with the multiverse route, right? That will fix everything, even though like isn't the Superman of the President Superman a different character. In fact, I would actually kind of love to see President Superman. He's kind of awesome. That would be more interesting than just rebooting Clark Kent. So there's that. Along with that, we got more preview details regarding 343 Industries' technical preview event and how they have bot-focused technical previews, Halo Infinite flighting, and a bunch of other big events, especially how they tell us not to forget to do the whole flight thing to sign up for. But Batman The Long Halloween Part 2 will, quote, flip the script on the graphic novel, Troy Baker says. So yeah, he says this. The Long Halloween flips the script on a lot of it. It changes the relationship between Harvey and Batman. It changes the relationship between Selena, Kyle, and Bruce, and leans into all the things that we want from them. In the original graphic novel, Bruce Wayne and Selena are already acquainted through their non-masked identities, but the anime adaptation makes it clear that these characters are closer than that. They know their identity, which, if you read the comics, The Long Halloween, they don't know who the other is behind the mask. Then later on, Batman knows who she is, but doesn't tell anyone, and Selena's in the dark. And then Batman reveals his identity to her in Hush, the 12-issue event that they did for Batman in the Batman books by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. Yeah. Meanwhile, Harvey and Batman have a strange alliance where Rover trying to stop the Holiday Killer, but delving deep into that relationship will wait a pre-spoiler heavy territory, and I will not say what. But considering where the book ended at, I get the feel like I'm pretty certain people will die because that's the way to define the era of Batman. But I get the feeling they're probably going to switch the fake out twist. I think they're going to change that, especially how they did how they had one character killed off in the movie. I'll talk about that in a bonus episode reviewing the Batman movie I want to talk about. Meanwhile, the X-Men creators want to hold a new Hellfire Gala and a new X-Men team election every year for a long time. So, yeah. During the event, saying that when Emma threw that party, one of the people there, I believe his name's Jordan D. White, the group editor, said when Emma threw that party, she said it was the first and that she didn't intend for it to be the last, so if people are into it, I think we'd be thrilled to keep it coming. The writers each echoed the approval and telling another Hellfire Gala story next year. Who doesn't want an excuse to dress up and show off to all the humans and flex on them? As the conversation turned to who each of the writers may have voted for in the X election vote, Duggan personally expressed his vote for Tempo and his wish to bring her to the X-Men, while also stating his excitement over adding vote-winning mutant Polaris to the team. So, yeah, Duggan says, the interesting way we're going to do this from now on is we'll have a yearly Hellfire Gala with a newly elected team. Perhaps. Okay, when they say perhaps, considering, Hickman doesn't want to be there forever and he does have plans for DC, I'm curious to know how this will affect Hickman's vision, because I don't know if they're going to keep the Krakoa era of X-Men forever, or are they going to do it where Hickman wraps up all his plots with Inferno, or he does another event, or he stays around for another year or two. We don't know. We'll have to see how Inferno plays out and see how that resolves everything. Finally, our last piece of comic news is that John Ridley is set to change the Fox family in the DC universe forever, saying that next year we have one more surprise for you that's going to change the Fox family and maybe the DC universe forever again. So what does this mean? Yeah, so we don't know much about that yet, but there is the 5G talk that would have been planned, but we're not going to talk about that. I might make a bonus episode discussing primarily about the 5G timeline that was drafted up. Yeah. I'll talk about that soon. I just need to compile everything together, and then we're off to the races! So, this was Neo Reality Collective, everyone, hosted by me, Eric Brown, or Mr. NRE. Of this brand. I am looking forward for the next set of content for you to come this way. Look forward to all my future projects and future podcast episodes, and stay tuned for more. See y'all next time. Take care, everyone, and have a nice day. Be safe out there.
Be sure to donate to the brand and keep up to date with additional content on YouTube channels such as Neo Reality Entertainment, NRE The Wrestleverse, and NRE Pop Culture Omniverse.